Big Sills, welcome aboard. How about playoff Jimmy? Jesus criminy, man. I cannot believe when I tune on a television show and I see Big Game Jimmy. Man, does that guy blow you away? What an absolutely amazing leader. Pat Riley, look at the people Pat Riley, we said this yesterday, has tied himself to. Magic Johnson. He really didn't have the guy in New York. What you really love about Riley and how he runs an organization, let me show you how great that dude is. So would we not agree that the Lakers and Showtime were one of the greatest teams in the history of sports? What does he do? He goes to New York and turns his team into a half-court offense. And he wins games because he really doesn't have anybody outside of Ewing on that team. And he turns himself into a half-court coach. Then he goes to Miami. Mickey Aronson gives him the reins. He wins an NBA championship there. He gets Eric Spoelstra. He turns him into the best coach in the NBA. And look who he ties himself to. Dwayne Wade, Shaquille, LeBron James, Chris Bosh, and now Jimmy Butler. Dude, this guy's unbelievable. Pat Riley can identify leadership. It's a damn shame that people in Philadelphia with that Sixer program can't identify shit. Dude, do you see what Josh Harris is now barking about now, the new owner of the Commanders? This guy doesn't own the team, 2 weeks now? And he's barking about a new stadium. Come on, man. Really? You just had a colossal meltdown on Sunday with your team. You look for a scapegoat, so you fight. Doc Rivers is now the leading candidate to get the Bucks job. Giannis is now petitioning to have Doc Rivers as the head coach in Milwaukee. Giannis wants – would you be shocked if Doc goes up to Milwaukee and wins an NBA title? I wouldn't. Giannis wants the guy. I don't think there's any coincidence to that. Giannis wants to have Doc Rivers as the coach of the Milwaukee Bucks. Dude. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Josh Harris now wants a new stadium. Dude, this is about culture. Hey, you know what's crazy about that Heat team? I can't name you the guys on that basketball team. How many undrafted guys are on that basketball team that you've never heard of? And they just win. What a culture, dude. We talk about that with the Eagles and how the Eagles are so protective of that culture. I see why now. Man, it is hard to build that culture. It's hard to win like that. It really is. Hey, what LeBron has done and going and winning in these other places, I think has to be also something celebrated. Because you just can't skip on pods like that and go win championships in 3 different places when some of those cultures were absolutely shitty. I mean, look at it. The Cleveland Cadavers. Remember, that's what we used to call the Cavaliers? The Cadavers. LeBron elevated that franchise now to being a billion. It was a joke, dude. Outside of the ELO years, it was a joke. LeBron elevated the Cavaliers for Gilbert and the family. He elevated it. Totally elevated it. Look what the Sixers are. Man, what a shit show. What a damn shame. And now Josh Harris is telling Commander fans, hey, we need a new stadium. Of course you do. Put it on the taxpayers' money. How about winning some games for us, dude? How about making some right decisions? Man, if I'm a Washington Commander fan and I see how that guy's run the Philadelphia 76ers, what's going to be the difference between him and Daniel Snyder? What, Josh Harris will be more of a bullshit artist than what Daniel Snyder was? 2 shitty owners. 2 shitty owners. And by the way, this is nothing personal. I don't know Josh Harris from a can of paint. I'm talking about the way he runs his Sixer team. I'm just going to assume he's going to run the Commanders the same way. Nothing personal, dude. You run that organization like a shit show. You made Philadelphia 76er fans tank and accept it and talked about some sort of stupid process. Look at the process here. How terrible is that? You absolutely bullshitted people to a point where they believed you. Man, culture's everything in sports. It really is. It was something interesting today. Something interesting that I heard on Birds 365. Marcus Hayes, the writer for the Inquirer, was on with the guys. And not to go exactly with what he said here, but I'm going to paraphrase it. The way he came off, it made it seem that Nick Sirianni, and we're talking culture here, really doesn't understand the Philadelphia Eagle culture. And I would have a topic here for you. How important is Sirianni in the success of the Eagles? How important to the success of the Philadelphia Eagles do you think Nick Sirianni is? How important is Nick to the culture? And was Marcus right when he said that Nick really doesn't understand the culture that well yet? I thought it was pretty interesting. How important is he in this whole process for success for the Eagles? Wonder how because listen, there is no question. And don't let anybody tell you this, that Nick Sirianni has any kind of say when it comes to personnel or when it comes to hiring coaches. He has zero. And I agree with Marcus. He has zero say in it. Now, I would give you this. I think Nick probably has a little bit more autonomy because there's been great success the last 2 years, especially since the 2-5 start. Okay? JM goes, Sirianni could nail his shoes to the door and we wouldn't skip a beat. I completely agree with you, JM. He's a widget. You know, Tone and I were talking about this. Howie Roseman is the maestro. Do you know who Nick Sirianni is? He's the fifth dude in the tuba section. Remember what he said during Super Bowl week? Hey, man, when I got the Eagle job, I had to introduce myself to the coaching staff. It was already in place. He had nothing to do with that, and he still doesn't. You don't really think he had anything to do with the picking of the coordinators, do you? Absolutely not. How important do you – I think it's pretty interesting culture. And it's really an eye-opener. And when Marcus from the Inquirer brings this up, I've been saying this to you guys the whole time. I'm going to tell you what I think Nick Sirianni's importance is. Neil goes, nothing. No. I do not believe Nick Sirianni has no place in the culture for the Philadelphia Eagles. That's where I disagree with Marcus. Because I'm going to tell you what I think his importance is. You see, he's a Pied Piper. Howie and the owners set the culture. You know what Nick Sirianni's great at? And you know why maybe Marcus has questions about whether or not he understands totally the Eagle culture? Here's what I say he does. He goes along to get along. He's not going to make waves like Doug did. If Doug Peterson can be fired, Nick Sirianni can be. This is why I told you last year when we had that topic. You don't think if Nick shits the bed, Howie's not going to fire that guy? You see the difference between the Philadelphia 76ers and the Eagles? Nick Sirianni could take a team to the NFC title game, or better yet, win a Super Bowl. Your resume and place in that organization is the fifth seat in the tuba section. You're part of the orchestra. That's it. Nothing more. You have a role. We have a culture. You will follow, or as they say, to go along, you get along. Doug didn't want to do that. That's why the owner went like this. Dude, we said it yesterday. You don't really believe that Jeffrey Lurie wanted to fire Doug Peterson, do you? But when he realized that Doug wasn't going to go along to get along, he couldn't have that. As much respect as he had for Doug, to get along, you go along. Do you know when this first popped up? This is why many of you and people even at the NovaCare Center come to this program every day. You know when that popped up? Is when Frank Reich was on this program and he recommended Sirianni. But he told Sirianni this, hey, they got a way of doing things there. And if you don't fall in line, you'll be on the same unemployment line as Doug Peterson. That's how it works. That's why the Eagles, it doesn't matter if it's Andy Reid, Chip Kelly, Doug Peterson, Nick Sirianni. They got a way of doing shit. That couldn't have been on display more this weekend, or excuse me, this morning, when Marcus from the Inquirer was talking and said, I don't think that Nick really gets the culture, and he still needs a culture lesson. Yeah, but the one thing that he is doing, Marcus, that Doug didn't do, he's going along with it and getting along. And he's going to grow into the culture. That's why the Eagles are cool with him. That's why the Eagles like him. The process now is very different now than with Doug. I spent months long interviewing candidates, Sirianni's. Hey, I would say, D, well, the Sirianni conversation didn't really pop up until Frank Reich and the owner were talking about when they were in the midst of trading Carson Wentz to Indianapolis. That's when that whole thing popped up. And they recommended Sirianni. Sirianni parachuted in from nowhere, except the fact that they respect Frank Reich's opinion. He said Frank will go along with the system. That's why Frank is revered. Frank was going to be the offensive coordinator. We know that. He said it right here. He said it right here on this program. Nick Sirianni is important in doing this. The message from above. Because again, Howie can't walk into the locker room and relay the message. Nick Sirianni's strength is not coaching. That high school shit he does, whatever, man. Okay? The high school bullshit, come on. It's how he expresses what they're looking for in that organization. Okay? What's up, C? Sills, would you consider bringing back Wentz as a backup? No, I don't need that nightmare. No, I would not. Why? Why walk back? I'd rather have Foles. I'd rather have Foles than Carson Wentz right now. Carson needs to be on his own. Marcus Haynes actually had a very insightful interview. He has a history with the franchise to glean relevant. No, hey, JM, that's why I thought it was one of the most interesting takes that I had heard anybody from the Philly. He was very to the point. I don't really think Nick knows the culture very well. He's not a really good culture guy. I'm paraphrasing it, but that was my takeaway. I was like, holy shit. Yeah, but he's a really good communicator and understanding of this. He's not going to ruffle feathers. But it did tell you this. Nick has no say in that organization. According to Marcus, he has no say. It's zero say. He has suggestions. I would make this point to you. I think probably Jalen Hurts has more say. I'd say Hurts has more say. That's why that culture is so important to that owner and that GM. It's so important. Dude, just by watching, and by watching Daryl Morey go through that charade, and you saw and you listened to him talking, and then you see how the Eagles operate, and how the Eagles do things on a daily basis. You know, there's one thing that Howie Roseman does do, and what he's been better at since he came out of the broom closet when they stuffed his ass in there on Chip Kelly. You know what he has done? He's empowered more people. The Sixers don't empower enough people. I don't want to hear James. Hey, and for the record, do you don't really believe that organization gives a shit whether Darius Slay likes that Matt Patricia's in the building? You don't really think that they run that the way the Sixers do, that James Harden had something to do with the firing of Doc Rivers? Do you really think any player in that building, maybe Jalen Hurts, could actually walk into Howie Roseman's office and go like this? You know, I don't really like Tracy Rocker as my D-line coach. We need to make a move here. Man, you know what? He's not putting us in positions to win. You don't really think that organization would tolerate that player would be cut or moved or traded. James Harden walks into Daryl Morey's office, and again, that shitty answer he gave after a blowout look at the character that you had with the Sixers on Sunday. Joel Embiid throwing the entire team under a bus, and then you had James Harden throwing the coach under the bus. What a great tandem you got there. Man, I would never want that on my foxhole. Those two guys throwing the team, and then the other guy throwing the coach. You lit the whole goddamn thing on fire, bro. You're not going to see that in Philadelphia with the Eagles. That ain't going to happen because there's a culture there, and they protect that culture. Okay? They protect that culture. Dude, this is not about letting the inmates run the asylum. Not that kind of stupid talk. Not that kind of ignorant conversation. I'm talking about you don't let your employees run your direction of your program, or nor do you let the media influence you. You think Pat Riley sits around letting players tell him, hey, Eric Spoelstra, you're hiring a video dude? He's the best coach in the NBA. You got to have faith in the process, a real process. You see, the Eagles have a real process. The Sixers have a shit process because they put it in the hands of the wrong people. People who are protecting their resumes and players. Players should not be running your organization. That's why you play, you coach, and you're the GM. There's a reason there's titles. Everybody wants a piece of their own, I get it, their own direction. Sixers are the Chargers of the NBA. Yeah, well, anytime that there's no question. Spanos family. You know what's crazy? Tom Telesco's a good GM. He's a good GM. He puts a lot of people on the field, but you know what? He goes to marching orders too. He has to listen to shitty ownership. Hey, you could be a great general manager or a great coach. If you got a shitty owner, you're not going nowhere. How many times have you seen places where by the way, Bruce Arians. Speaking of Bruce Arians and how Bruce Arians does and how he runs a program, he's going to join us at 5:30 Eastern time. We're going to talk to him a little bit about the RPO system, and we're going to get his thoughts on the Buccaneers, the organization, Jason Light. You know, people are telling me, and John McMullen's, I love John. I love when he comes on the program. He thought Shane Steichen's a great play caller. Well, I'm going to ask a true play caller and a Super Bowl winning head coach who was a play caller, if the RPO is a play calling system or more of a design system and the quarterback has more decision making in it, or if that's play calling. Why don't we talk to a guy that's got 4 Super Bowl rings? We'll do that in hour number 3 at 5:30 Eastern. Okay? And we'll get his thoughts. I'll get his thoughts also on Jalen Hurts. So that'll be there. We're gonna do my predictions on the division winners and also wild card teams here in a second. But just to expand a little more here, Sirianni has no say in that organization. I agree with Marcus on that. But he does have a place in it. All ownership cares about is being relevant. They don't care about winning like they claim to. And you know what's crazy about what Tone just said? All you have to do is look at their actions. You know what? If you muted the 76er organization and just went by their actions, you would call them liars. If you had the sound down and you just watched them for the last 7 years, all of a sudden you turn the volume up, you'd go, you're a liar. Nothing you said right there is true. Nothing. Nothing. Nothing you promised season ticket holders, fans of the team, nothing since you've owned that team have you come through on. Nothing except getting a new building, which right now you're now starting to campaign to get a new building for the Commanders. You understand something about getting a building for an owner. It's generational wealth. It increases their wealth when they get new buildings. You made Josh Harris even richer by giving him Wells Fargo, and he gave you shit. The process now is very different than with Doug. Sirianni spent pre-draft months interviewing candidates. Absolutely a lie. Sirianni is through. Howie not spending months interviewing coaches, especially pre-draft. That is an absolute, unbelievably not true comment. Absolutely not a true comment. Sirianni, if he interviewed candidates, it was Howie's list of teams that he wanted to talk to certain people. You are so out of your mind if you think Nick Sirianni has a say in that building when it comes to hiring coaches or coordinators or the type of defense they're going to run. Absolutely not true. And for the record, how many people think that the organization took the play calling duties away from Sirianni after the 2-5 start? How many people thought that they did and took that away from him? You know, so like, wait a minute. Are you under really the guys that a brand new head coach who's 2-5 and his ass is on the line and people are questioning whether or not he's a good coach, just said, hey, why don't you do it? Mid-season? Okay. Yeah. Dude, he was on the rails to be a one and done guy if that thing continued. But people are going like, yeah, Sirianni, he came up with the decision on his own. Never had experience in his entire life. Hey, Joseph goes, I do. Okay. Okay. You guys let all these little like tidbits just follow through. He told you when he took the job in Philadelphia, he had to introduce himself. He told you that in January. He didn't know the coaching staff. Usually when a new coach gets a job, don't you think he gets to bring his own coaches in? Don't you get it? The majority of the coaches that they have hired have all been tethered to Doug Peterson and Frank Reich. All of that tree there is through Frank and Doug. Mike McCoy. All them guys all work together. Howie likes that tree. He likes the Doug Peterson tree. He likes those guys because you know why? They're designers of offense. They put boutique offenses together because that's Frank's forte. They got all that shit from Frank. Hey, again, there's a place in that organization for Sirianni. I'm not saying, but how many times have you seen Howie Roseman at the front door of the locker room in a big game when he's congratulating all of his guys when they walk in, including the head coach? How many GMs? The only other guy I've ever seen do that is Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones is the only other guy, GM, I've ever seen congratulating guys so that everybody knows. Remember that Indianapolis? Was it the Indianapolis game? He's out front of the locker room congratulating everybody. Great job, coach. Way to go. Way to go. Hey, guys, brought Sue and Linville Joe. He wanted everyone to know it was him. He wants everyone to know it's him. Nothing wrong with that, man. And by the way, I think the owner doesn't let it get too out of hand. I think that's his role in this. Football creates a lot of egos, and it can tear you apart. And that's what the magic of Bob Kraft was, is keeping that thing on the rails as long as he did. I can't believe Bob Kraft kept that thing on the rails for 20 years. I really can't. I can't believe Kraft kept that thing going for 20 years. Cannot believe it. Okay? The Eagles run that organization, and one more time, Doug Peterson's the fifth dude in the tuba section. Howie's the orchestra guy. He's the maestro. He's the guy with the sticks. Points to you. Points to you. Points to you. Which means you're all replaceable. Every person in that organization is replaceable, including Carson Wentz and Doug Peterson. Okay? That's why he's probably the best maestro right now in the NFL, maybe in sports. I'd give the Rays as the best organization for the amount of money that they spend. I think the Rays are probably the best organization. Andrew Silverman and those guys, and Andrew Friedman, who set the cement there for the Rays. That's a great organization down there. Okay? It is. It's a great – the Rays are incredible. $65 million payroll. They beat teams with $200 million payrolls on a consistent basis. It's remarkable. It's talent. It's recruiting. It's culture. Again, another place with culture. Okay? So, listen, it's not a slam on Nick. What coaching does Nick do? Jump on park benches? Give you crazy faces at the press conferences? What impact does you think he has? Keeping the locker room? The locker room right now is in a good place. Why is the locker room in a good place in Philly? Because you're winning. There's been no adversity yet. 2-5 has been the biggest adversity that the Eagles have had, and a little bit the injury at the end of last year. Now you got a little tiny bit more of an adversity because you lost the Super Bowl, but that's not tragic. The game's tragic how you lost it, but you still come from a place where, get this, you were on the podium. So you build on that. It's a building platform, being in the Super Bowl. You keep it going. And the reason the Eagles will keep it going, NFC's down, culture in the building, everyone knows their role. That's the key here. This is why Doug got out of hand. The Eagles were so right to fire him. They were so right. Doug Peterson got out of hand. Seth Joyner said it, man, on our program numerous times. Doug didn't have enough say in the building. He wanted more say, so he kicked the can down the road. Eagles didn't want to bend. Get this. The Eagles told a Super Bowl winning coach, and this goes back again to Marcus talking to Birds 365 this morning. This is exactly why you look at Sirianni and go, he's the perfect coach for the Eagles. He's not going to ruffle feathers, where a lot of coaches would. You can't bring in Lincoln Riley. He would have been a train wreck too. Look at the culture. Look at what Chip, you know why Chip sucked so bad at the end? You know, he did have a winning record. Do you know why Chip sucked so bad? He tried to create this imaginary culture that didn't exist in the building, and all the things that Jeffrey Lurie knows. Boy, I'll tell you what, I'm more shocked that they got out of that than out of the 4-win culture. Seriously, I'm more shocked how fast they got out of the Doug or the Chip Kelly era than they did out of the Peterson era. Even with the quarterback salary, I'm more shocked with that because, man, he ruined everything. Getting rid of Shady, getting rid of really good ball players, having a philosophy of running 100 billion plays, not understanding the NFL, not understanding how you manage a roster in the NFL. There's only 53 guys. He knew none of that, nor did he care to know that. He didn't care. They gave him all the hats. The owner wanted to try something new, and it blew up in his face, and he said, never again. And that's why everyone's going around now talking about how great it is at the NovaCare Center. You know why? This is designed. They were never good. The Philadelphia Eagles, as long as Jeffrey Lurie owns this team, will never let that thing go sideways like that ever again. You may not win games, but it's not going to be because of shitty ownership and shitty management like you have in Philadelphia with the Sixers. That, or with Chip. That's not going to happen. That is not going to happen. So I thought it was an interesting conversation. See, there's a role for Nick, though. Hey, Nick, we need you to express this opinion of ours. Is Nick a mouthpiece? Yeah. Nick Sirianni's a mouthpiece. But it's okay. Look what you have in Dallas. How would you like to be a mouthpiece in Dallas and be Mike McCarthy and lose? Okay? And as you keep going along, see, Nick's smart, though. Nick's smart. You know what he does? Because the more he goes along, the more they ask him his opinion, the more he builds his equity up in the organization, the more they trust him, the more they respect him, the more he becomes a viable part of the front office. He's building. That's why when Marcus is saying he needs a lesson in culture, well, at the end of the day, you know what he's doing? Nick Sirianni is building his equity with the Eagles right now by going along. You can't be a play caller anymore. Okay. Hey, we have to hire this offensive coordinator. Okay. And you have to coach him. Okay. How many coaches do that? None. Tony Dungy was fired in Tampa Bay because he wanted to keep Clyde Christensen. The Glazers wanted Clyde Christensen gone. Thought that they had worn the welcome out. They wanted a brand new coaching direction because Tony couldn't get the team over the hump. I think this was after the NFC Championship game that got beat by the Rams, the St. Louis Rams. I was there. They wanted a brand new offensive coaching staff because they felt that the offensive coaching staff wasn't good enough to put that team over the hump to win a Super Bowl. Tony didn't want to fire him. He didn't want to fire the coaching staff he had. Well, the defensive guys, that's why they kept some of the coaches on the defensive side of the football. Raheem Morris was on that side of the football. Okay? I mean, you had some of the best defensive-minded coaches. Tony went like this. I'm not firing Clyde Christensen and some of the guys we have in our staff on the offensive side. The Glazers wanted a whole new, and Tony was fired. Tony was fired. That's how Tony Dungy got fired in Tampa. Okay? He got fired in Tampa because he wanted to go against the Glazers' culture. And I love organizations that win want to do things a certain way. Once Doug started winning, Doug wanted to do shit his way. It's human nature. Doug Peterson winning the Super Bowl caused him to overestimate his value. Completely true. It always does, though. But therefore he tried to skip steps on the organization's equity. That's right. Completely true. But what Doug has done now, Doug has shown that where he wanted to take the Eagles, he's now taking and picking up for a train wreck of a coach in Urban Meyer in Jacksonville, in an organization. Where do you think he's learned all that? He took all that organizational expertise that he saw in how the Eagles run it, and he's now putting it now in place in Jacksonville. The only difference is this, is that Trent Baalke doesn't have the equity that Howie Roseman has with the owner. It's Doug. That's Doug's ship. That's run more like Kansas City now down in Jacksonville than in what – and see, that's what Doug wanted. Doug wanted to run the Eagles like Andy runs the Kansas City Chiefs. That's probably why at the end, Kansas City, that's how they probably got Andy Reid, is that Andy Reid probably, with all his winning, he wanted more equity. That happens, man. And that's why right now, Nick Sirianni's in a pretty interesting place in his career. So you saying interview process has no impact? No, not at all. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the interview process is, if you're under the guys that you think that Nick picked these guys to interview him, and at the end of the day, he picks which guy he wants, you're out of your mind. You know what he is? He's a headhunter for the general manager. When it comes to coaches, he's a headhunter. Well, I interviewed these 6 guys. and this is my takeaway with this guy. Now, here's where Nick's opinion comes in. Say Nick interviewed 6 coordinators, offense and defense. Oh, wait a minute. So to go with D's thoughts here, so you really think Nick Sirianni wanted to bring a guy in that one of his players hated? If he's such a player's coach, why would he bring in a guy like Matt Patricia that one of his players hated? Really? I thought Sirianni and Slay had a good relationship. So if I have a good relationship with you and I'm sitting there talking to you and I start dating your girlfriend or your ex-girlfriend and you really loved this, okay, and then all of a sudden you really hated it and it was a horrific divorce, horrific, and I start dating your ex-wife or your ex-girlfriend, you're all right with that? Yeah, I want you to meet Susie. I know you know her. Yeah, okay. Doug won the bowl. Debo, didn't matter because Doug wanted to change the Super Bowl was important to the Philadelphia Eagles because you know what it did? It gave Howie the equity that he needed to fire Doug. Doug thought what Tone said. Doug Peterson winning the Super Bowl Doug thought he was going to have the equity to have more power than Howie. All it did was it strengthened Howie, not Doug. Doug's the widget. He's the 5th dude in the tuba section. He'll always be. By the way, 2 guys have left the building. You know, Chip's not done that bad a job at UCLA. It's been pretty good. Chip's winning at UCLA. Andy's winning in Kansas City. Doug's winning in Jacksonville. And the Eagles are running their operation the way they want to run it. It's like everybody's happy. But you're not changing the Philadelphia Eagle culture because you win a Super Bowl. That's not going to work. They tried that experiment with Chip. They're never walking down. Yeah, winning that Super Bowl didn't strengthen Doug Peterson. It strengthened Howie. Howie got more out of that. Hey, am I right when I say this? Howie got more out of that Super Bowl than Doug did. Do you believe if Doug would have been patient, he would have eventually got the equity he wanted with the Eagles? Yeah. Don't you see it here? Yes, Tone, this is what Frank told Nick. Hey, win, be patient. And to what Patricia has no say. Sure, okay, right. So listen what Vet said. Patricia has no say, at least he's a water boy. Really? So you would bring a guy in to upset your locker room for no reason, right, Vet? Makes sense. Vet has no say. Then why would you bring him in? Why would you hire him? To piss off Slay? Okay, Vet, if I'm going to take your take there, why would you bring him in then if he has no say? If Matt Patricia has no say, you brought him in to piss your player off? Is the only other avenue you're talking about here. According to Vet, he has no say. Well, so then Howie Roseman, Jeffrey Lurie, and Nick Sirianni, according to him, brought a guy in to piss their player off. Interesting take, Vet. He doesn't have any say. He's just a dude. Then why hire him? So you just hire to hire? What do you think? This is the Peace Corps? I mean, what? What do you think? Here, and to what Tone asked, and what D asked. Here's the influence. When those guys were looking at all those coordinators, here's where Nick builds his. This is where Nick builds his trust with the owners. Hey, I think, in the best interest of best interest. I think this guy here, Johnson, I think we have to go with him. Jalen loves him really a lot. Coaching staff loves him. Everybody in the locker room loves him. Then you talk about other coordinators. Frank Reich was going to be the coordinator, though. What's funny about that? He's a defensive assistant. Whatever, Vet. You're right. They brought a guy who's a nobody in for nothing just to piss Slay off. Hey, great take. Okay, hey. Johnson was never going to be the coordinator if Frank had the job. Frank had the job. He said it here. Frank was going to be the offensive coordinator if he didn't get the Carolina Panther job. He said it. Johnson was never going to not. He was the second dude. Why? Well, Howie and the owner love Frank Reich. They love that guy. He knows the game. So, how Nick builds his equity, like Tone says, the more you go along, the more your calculated decisions. Hey, I think it's in the best interest maybe that we give the play calling over to Shane Steichen instead, you being the play caller. Okay, no problem. Let's see if there's a different direction. And that's how, see, Doug would have fought that. Nick's not. Nick has no place to fight that. Now he's got a little bit more. But but Nick's got to be careful how he fights that. So Sean Desai, you think was a Nick Sirianni hire. How? Where? In your right mind would you think that? They look at certain guys and go, okay, this is a guy that fits our culture. See, you got to fit the culture. In fact, Doug preferred Wentz over Hurts. Howie preferred Hurts. Glad Howie won. Doug's the fifth dude in the tuba section is because Howie won. Howie was always going to win. And don't tell me that they knew Wentz was the guy. They got 2 first-round draft choices last year to get a quarterback in this year's draft. You make it sound like that was predetermined when they fired Doug. That is not true. You know it, and I know it. That's not totally accurate. It's revised history. At that point when they fired Doug, they didn't know that quarterback was going to be where he is right now. That is not true. That is not true. As a matter of fact, this time last year, we were questioning whether Hurts was the guy. Don't revise history. It's not true. It's not a true statement. I'm glad he chose him. Dude, this time last year, the Eagles hadn't chosen him yet. Howie had built up equity in the draft to get 2 first-rounders for a reason. And it wasn't to take a safety or a defensive tackle. I thought that conversation this morning told us even more about how strong the culture is. By the way, don't be offended that Sirianni doesn't have any say in the building. He's building his equity up. Don't you want to build it up? Have him build it up. By the way, your last 3 coaches that you have had, 4 coaches really, have all been pretty successful. Now, one was a college coach and will always be a college coach, and he should stay at the college level, and I don't believe he'll ever get another opportunity to coach in the NFL ever again, Chip Kelly. So he's a college coach. He's got great success in the college game. Oregon and now UCLA. Hey, Saban's a college coach. Doug's having great success now. Andy's having miraculous success. These guys, it's all good. But those guys were the fifth tuba player or the third dude in the violin section. They have no say in that organization. I love it when I hear people go on the air and say that they really believe that Nick Sirianni has some sort of equity in the building. He's building it, but to sit there and say he picks assistant coaches or he has anything to do with scheme or he has anything to do with play calling, that's what makes it even more crazy when people think that RPO system, that Shane Steichen was some sort of brilliant play caller. I can't wait to get Bruce Arians on in hour number 3 at 5:30 and let him explain what the RPO is and how different it is to a 7-step drop quarterback. It's more progression reading in the 7-step. Howie wanted Jefferson. Doug chose Rager. That has a lot to do with Doug getting fired. So you think a draft choice has a lot to do with him getting fired after winning a Super Bowl? Really? I don't. Zero. Who chose Andre Dillard then? He was a freaking bust too. Who chose Andre Dillard? Jeff Stoutland? Why wasn't he fired? Who picked Andre Dillard? He didn't even get to a second contract. Who got him? Who drafted Derek Barnett? 7-year GI Bill that guy's on. I've never seen a guy get more of a scholarship than Derek Barnett. Why is that guy on the roster? Seriously, he's the Jalen Reagor of the Eagles. This guy's got more penalties than sacks. Doug wanted more power. Doug wanted to run the shop that he's running. No. Doug wanted to run the Eagles the way Andy runs the Eagles. You know, Brett Veach. You really think Brett Veach has more say? Why do you think that Andy Reid had John Dorsey fired? Do you guys remember? John Dorsey's the guy that brought in Mahomes. He's the guy that went out and traded for Alex Smith. He's the guy that recommended that they bring all that talent. Travis Kelce, that's all John Dorsey. But once that started to get to a point where they were butting heads, and Andy won that Super Bowl, here's where it's different in Kansas City than it was different in Philly for Andy. Andy went to Clark Hunt and had John Dorsey fired. John Dorsey's such a good personnel guy, the Browns hired him. You know, the majority of the Browns players that are on that team pre-Deshaun Watson are because of John Dorsey. All them guys. But John Dorsey can't get along with head coaches because you know why? He doesn't want anybody dipping their beak into his pond. Okay, and him becomes adversarial. See, Howie started getting pissed off at Doug because Doug wanted to run his own ship. And get this, if you're an owner like Jeffrey Lurie, you understand that. You helped create that. But see, what Tone said, Doug winning the Super Bowl was arguably the worst thing in the world happened to him because he wasn't patient enough after that. You see, it's one thing for Belichick. Belichick had two things going in his favor. He didn't have a GM, and he had Brady. Now that he doesn't have Brady, he's losing Belichick because he's not winning. You got the owner of the New England Patriots saying that you had a great draft taking 2 kickers. He's setting the trap door for him. Belichick will not, he'll be forced out. Same way Don Shula was forced out. You know why? They'll hire or find a guy who will replace him that everyone will be comfortable with. You can't replace Bill Belichick with Shane Steichen. You replace him with Jimmy Johnson. I'm not saying Jimmy, I'm talking like when Jimmy took over for Landry. Look who Jimmy Johnson took over for. The only guy that could take over for Tom Landry and Don Shula. You understand that. The only guy, that's why in Philly, when everyone went, Shane Steichen taking over for Doug. But who was Doug? Who was Andy Reid? You know, Chip Kelly probably had the most equity of all the coaching hires in the last 23 years that Jeffrey Lurie has had because everyone wanted that coach. Everyone went like this. Dude, I look back on all your comments about Doug Peterson's hiring. Great revised history by some of you there also. Nobody was a fan of Doug Peterson's hiring. Nobody was a fan of Andy Reid's hiring. We hired the quarterback coach who has no say in Green Bay as our head coach. Yeah. What? That's why you hire these guys. You haven't had a high-profile hire except for Chip. Think of that. And Jeffrey Lurie's entire ownership, the only real big profile hire you've ever had is Chip. Chip sucked at, okay, well, it's not my point. Doug wasn't a high-profile hire. Andy Reid wasn't a high-profile hire. Sirianni surely wasn't a high-profile hire. It's a design in the organization. But here you got guys like D going, Nick's got a lot of say in the coordinators because he interviewed a ton of them. Oh. Yeah, because that's been your name. I'm telling you the way it is, not the way you think it is. This is how they've operated. And by the way, it's successful. This is not a rip. This is more of a historical look on how they're where they are today. It's not a rip. But I thought Marcus Haynes today, when he was talking about Sirianni not knowing the culture, been saying this the whole time. He's the third violin player in Howie's orchestra. That's all he is. Is he building up trust with everyone? Absolutely. Is he being more patient? Frank told him, you have to be patient if you want to get ahead there. If you try doing what Tone said, jumping levels, they're going to fire you. Dude, the Philadelphia Eagles would not lose a beat if they fired Nick Sirianni. They wouldn't lose a beat. He knows that. Because if you can fire Doug, you can fire anybody. Seriously, I mean, I'm sorry to tell you that. I hope that doesn't aggravate people. But to me, again, it's the top of the hour here. We're going to go through the divisions. And don't forget also, 5:30, we're going to talk to our friend Bruce Arians. Hurts had a better chance to win than Wentz at time. Andy's claim to fame was being Sills. It's kind of hard to tell Howie you don't want to humble yourself and go along after Howie spent a couple of seasons banished to the broom closet. Yeah, but Bob, you know what I think Howie has done a great job of? He's put that in a rearview mirror. And he's taken that lesson, and I think he's applied it to where he is now. 17 of the 22 guys, there's no doubt they're doing a better job in the draft. They're doing a better job in front office hiring. They're doing a great job when it comes to assistant coaching hires. They're keeping the right people. And Jeff Stoutland, every guy was fired on that offensive coaching staff except for the offensive line coach. That was by design, not because Sirianni wanted it. Sirianni had no say when he got the job. None. Dude, Nick Sirianni was hired like he was the DB coach, not the head coach. That's why everyone was so shocked with it. It's not a rip. See, the Eagles are the East Coast version. I'll say this to you, Tone. The Eagles are the East Coast version of the Chargers. The difference is the Eagles win and make all the right choices. The Chargers make all the wrong choices, all the wrong decisions, all the wrong firings. Same with the Sixers. The Eagles have kind of the same system. They believed back in the day in A.J. Smith, who was the general manager. He's the guy that decided that he wanted to fire Marty Schottenheimer after a 14-2 season because he thought Marty wasn't important to the process. Well, he was. AJ was the guy that wanted to play Drew Brees in the final game against Kansas City where he blew his shoulder out. And Marty Schottenheimer didn't want to play him because he wanted to start him next year. He wanted to play Rivers and trade him. Well, AJ chose wrong. You imagine if the Chargers had kept Drew Brees and traded Rivers, they may have won a Super Bowl, and the team still may have been in San Diego. I just hate when people nitpick at unnecessary narratives to try to make the Eagles look like they're not a high profile. Dude, they're one of the best run organizations. Philadelphia, if this comes off like I'm downplaying anybody or anything and what they're doing, do you know how much time, winning, losing, hard lessons, that organization has gone through over the 23 years to get to the point where they are at the NovaCare Center today, dude, that takes a lot of work. That's why they're not going to let somebody just come in and fuck it up, man. That's not going to happen. That's why when people, you want to know why also they protected Jalen Carter at that press conference, because it's an indictment that they didn't do their homework. That's an organization, in my opinion, that homework is essential before they make any move. Strategic decision-making has been essential in the success of that organization. It's on display every day. Like I said, if you turned the volume down of the Eagles and then you turned it back up 10 years later, everything they said they were doing has happened. And if you did that to the Sixers, everything Josh Harris said that he was going to do, and you watched it, then you turn the volume up, is a lie. There's a complete difference in what people say at press conferences and what people do on a day-to-day basis and how they put products in front of their fans and put winning teams in front of their fans. There's a difference. And for the record, I think it's harder to motivate a football team than 15 dudes. I think it's harder. The only problem with the NBA, you become like an anchor tied to some of these guys because of the money that's out there, and it's guaranteed. Whereas the NFL could just do this. I'll eat $30 million for 1 year to get that guy out of my building. That's what the Eagles did. They just said, Wentz, get out of here. We're going to pay you. We're going to eat your money because we hate you so bad. You're not taking us down. Okay? People say you pick at useless narratives, but in the same breath complain about the tap dancing in the media. Big Sills is here to make you think. Dude, I'm trying to make you think about how great your team is and how important your GM is and how important Nick is. Nick, see, this to me is like the Bulls, the Jordan Bulls. Everyone's got a role. Nick gets a message. It's funny, Nick gets a message every day. This is what we want conveyed to the players. You're either in or you're out. I'm in. No pushback. This is where we're going. We've hired you to be our Pied Piper. Okay. Are you in? Doug went like this. I don't know. That's not how I see it. That's when you start getting pause in the front office. Can you imagine a guy who won a Super Bowl? When you start saying, I want to start doing something different and I don't go down that line and I want to hire this guy and I want to hire that guy. No, I don't like that guy. No, I want to keep this guy. And you start having that in an organization right now where why all the tea leaves look good and why the environment's good? Obviously, winning has a lot to do with this. But do you know why this is all going so well? Because everyone's on the same page. The Eagles got to this point after that 4-win season because everyone jumped on board because Howie and the owner put everyone in their right place. Everyone got their chair. Nick's here. And again, Nick got his chair in the orchestra. He's here. He's here. And by the way, getting Jalen. Dude, the Jalen Hurts deal is the cherry on top because you're not searching for a quarterback. You got the quarterback. You got the conference, too. That's sucking. You got the division with the Dallas Cowboys who can't get out of their own way. You got Josh Harris now Josh Harris owning the Commanders versus Daniel Snyder owning the Commanders. I don't know. What's different? Why would I think you're going to get the Commanders right? You haven't done one thing correct in Philly. Go by how he does his up. What are the Devils doing? What are the Devils doing? Now, does Lou Lamoriello still run that thing, or is he somewhere else now? Okay? Where's Lou Lamoriello? I'm just like, the Eagles have spent so much time creating this. Quan goes, like you say, Sills, Howie knee pads? Yeah. Yeah. Go along, get along. Okay? Fly goes, Josh Harris owns a lot of teams. Too bad he doesn't own a lot of championships. Yo, oh, that's right. Lou Lamoriello's in Toronto. There's no coincidence that Lou's got that team turned in the right direction, too, the Toronto Maple Leafs. They haven't won a title since 1967. Lou Lamoriello is one of the absolutely greatest orchestra guys of all time. Glenn Sather and him. You can go down the line. Who's better between those two guys? Sather or him as the best general managers? Maybe Pierre Lacroix. You could probably go down there. Pierre Lacroix was a great general manager when he was running the Avalanche. Ken Holland, when he was running the Maple Leafs, or excuse me, the Detroit Red Wings. So to me, you know, those are some of your greatest general managers. There's an alternative universe. You guys are still talking to me about Brock Purdy? Come on, man. Sills, what organization would you play for, Niners or Eagles? That's a great question, Cosmo. See, Cosmo, for me, probably the Eagles. But if it was the Ed Bartolo 49ers, it would be clearly the 49ers. Now, Carmen Policy destroyed the team at the end. He was a complete cancer. He wasn't the guy that everybody thought he was. He destroyed the football team and backstabbed Ed Bartolo and stabbed him in the back along with Dwight Clark. God rest his soul. They stabbed Joe in the back and they stabbed Ed DeBartolo in the back. And then when Policy went to Cleveland, it was a complete shit show. You know, Jimmy Haslam even gave him percentage ownership when he went to Cleveland. He was a horrific general manager. He didn't build that 49er dynasty. It had nothing to do with it. It was three men that had a lot to do with it, okay? Okay, it was John McVay, it was Eddie DeBartolo, and it was Bill Walsh. They were the ones that put the 49er dynasty together. Policy was kind of like a carpetbagger that came in at the very end and was waving his hands and talking loud and telling everybody that he was the guy who built. He didn't build the 49er dynasty. That's not true. He won a Super Bowl, but he didn't build it. And he stabbed Eddie in the back at the end, especially at the owners' meetings when the teams decided to take the team away from him because of the New Orleans fiasco with the governor. Okay. Eddie D lost money in San Francisco. Do you know Eddie DeBartolo used to give money to his players and trips if they won Super Bowls and NFC titles? Do you know that still to this day he owns a casino in Wyoming? And every player that ever played with him, all you have to do is get on an airplane. He gives you $1,000 in chips, gives you a free weekend, and they all get together still to this very day on teams that won all those Super Bowls up in Wyoming. Randy Cross goes to it all the time. Anybody who was involved in the 49er organization, he has you come up. All you have to do is get there. And he takes care of everything. $1,000 in chips. You and your wife you get 1,000, she gets 1,000, and you guys get to go and have a great time. He used to fly his team to Hawaii every year, and everybody would get these bonus checks when they showed up Hawaii. NFL stopped that because here's Ronnie Lott getting a $25,000 check at a party in Hawaii at a luau. That's a fact. Okay? That was a fact. Well, yeah, the reason that DeBartolo had the team taken away is because of the shit that Toes did. When Toes was putting up equity of the team, NFL found out that he was putting shares of the team up. That wasn't going to cut it, and that's why Eddie got in trouble with the NFL over all that. Eddie was a great owner. At the same time, the Eagles had Toes. Whew, wow. It's a team who would listen. So the Niners are a good organization. All right, let me do this. I want to take a look at division winners and wild cards now that free agency. We got still one more date on the calendar, and we still have one more shopping day, as I've been telling you. That's June 1. Okay. I want to look at some of the divisions here. Here they are. And I want to do that next. Do me a favor. Don't forget, we got Bruce Arians, senior executive to the Buccaneers and former Super Bowl head coach. We're going to talk to him about Jalen Hurts, RPO. We're going to get a lesson, really, in offense. And we're going to talk to one of the great minds. Remember something. He was also in Pittsburgh where he won 3 Super Bowls as the offensive coordinator. He was the OC in Pittsburgh when they won all them Super Bowls. Was a coach of the year in Indianapolis. Was it 2 teams to Super Bowls? Really a great coach. Borderline Hall of Fame guy. We'll talk to him hour 3, 5:30. Hit the like button. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
Heading down the shore, have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood days.
Score and save in southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer 3 major services, the first one being basement waterproofing, the second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs, and then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Greg Sills, National Football Show. I'm talking with my boy Tone right now. And Tone, I just sent you a text back. Can we do it like we did with Frank Reich with no video and just do it audio like we did with Frank? Tampa gets a lot of thunderstorms and power storms right now and knocked his internet out. So hopefully we could just do it off his phone, I would think, right? Have him just click the link on the phone, no video. Or he could do it just off his phone, right? Arians has no internet. Frank had internet. He just didn't have video. Can we do it off his phone? right? Why couldn't we do it just off his phone then? Let me try the phone and ask. Fantastic. Thank you, Tone. So they're having some weather issues there. Not today. We'll do it tomorrow. Getting Coach Arians on. So we'll see. By the way, hey, man, I'd love to hear Sills' take on Pat McAfee. How about it, Sills? The Freak, he'll be fired within a year. Their content is so guarded at ESPN. I wish him success, but the same show that Pat's doing right now, he's not going to be able to do at ESPN. Now he gets to keep his channel, his YouTube channel, so that's a big deal there. But I don't give a shit what Pat or ESPN says. As soon as he says something that's contradicting to what their narrative is and how they promote their network. Remember, this is the same network that looks at the Arthur Ashe Award and gives it to a dude, or celebrates Woman of the Month and it's a guy. I mean, when Pat starts saying that that's not cool, that's going to go against their narrative on what they do at the ESPYs. He's not keeping his job. I don't think it's sold out. I think he just believes that ESPN is going to allow him more opportunities because of the platforms they have. But let's not forget, at the end of the day, it's Disney. Disney runs that. And quite frankly, all the talent that they have, and I would say this to you too, Stephen A. Smith runs that. He runs ESPN into the ground. He just runs it into the ground. Nothing he does is successful. Radio, podcasting, nothing. The First Take show is successful. It's successful, okay? The two most successful shows, in my opinion, the best show on ESPN is still PTI with Kornheiser and Wilbon. PTI is still the best show they have when it comes to debate, topics. PTI is still the best. It's why it's still on. It's why it's still on, because it's the best show they have. I think so. Again, I know they're getting long in the tooth, and I'm talking Tony Kornheiser, but Tony Kornheiser runs a great show, okay? So we'll see how it works, but hey, he's built that thing into a monster. Kudos to him. Absolutely fantastic. And I'm looking forward to seeing how that whole thing shakes out there. So, yeah. I want to hit on something that Jason Kelsey said before we get into the divisions and how we're going to look at all this stuff here. And by the way, for the record, Tone, do me a favor. Let me know, on the private chat. Working on Arians, he hasn't responded to me yet. Okay. Yeah, let's see if we can hopefully get him on. If not here today, maybe we get him on tomorrow here. So he says it's going to be way more difficult this year around. Dude, what do you think is more difficult when it comes to being a champion? Getting to the mountaintop or staying there? What do you think? What do you think is more difficult? Tone says staying. Me too. How many times have you seen teams get to the top and then pinnacle and you just go like this? Man, didn't you think that Chicago Cubs team a couple of years ago that won the World Series, didn't you think they were going to win multiple championships? Or how about the 85 Bears? Some of you might remember. Man, I thought that 85 Bears team was going to have multiple Super Bowls. I thought the Bucks with Sapp and those guys were going to have multiple Super Bowls. I thought the Rams team that you see with McVay, I thought that thing was going to continue to be on an A train and they were going to win a lot of games. But they fall off the cliff. And staying there so that's why I think, again, what is more important to the Eagles right now on staying where they are? The culture in the building or the players on the field? See, Jordan doesn't believe cultures win world titles. He believes players do. Well, wait a minute. How many times have we seen loaded teams? How could you have Kyrie Irving, KD, and James Harden on one team and not get anywhere with that? Or how could you have a loaded NFL team and not get anywhere? How could you beat a loaded team like the Eagles and have two players on offense? Kansas City theoretically beat you with two players. Kelsey and Mahomes. With that loaded Eagle team. Okay? It's culture. Shout out to Tone for doing a fantastic job he does. He does, man. He does a great job. Does a great job. I enjoy being around him. Totally do. Kelsey's right, though. This is going to, hey, very nicely done, Tone. Can I say it one more time to you, though? Don't you guys see the same kind of culture in the Miami Heat as you do with the Eagles? Who's on that Heat team? Adebayo? I mean, they don't even have Hero on there, right? He's injured. Who's on that team? You got Eric Spoelstra, a great coach, who was handpicked by Riley, who created a culture in the building. By the way, remember what he did to give Spoelstra that job? He didn't like the direction that Stan Van Gundy had that team on. What did he do? He fired him. And he put an equipment manager in as head coach, and now he's the best coach in the NBA. Identifying talent. Dude, it's crazy. And you look at the Eagle culture. Eagles have such a great culture. Okay, it's okay. We beat – guys, the 49ers are going to get – hey, just remember, if you're the Eagle guy, you don't get in arguments with people you have already beaten. You let them bark. See, to me, don't punch down. You got them. You're the target. This is what Kelsey's saying. You're the target. You are the target now. Right? Sills, it's looking more and more like Miles Jack is going to get signed. With that being said, who will cover elite tight ends on this team? Like Malcolm Jenkins used to. Guys like Jack or a new signee Edmonds. Jesus, man. I think that's going to be something to really be something that's going to be debated on how you're going to attack these tight ends and backs out of the backfield. You don't have the personnel to cover them. Hassan Reddick can't do it. He's not very good. That's not a skill set of his. And nor would I want to take the pass rushing away from that. You don't have a play. Is it Nolan Smith? Can you get Nolan Smith up to gear to where Nolan Smith can be that guy? 4'3" in the 40. He's a physical dude. He's a big dude. He's strong. He's got attributes that look like a guy who could cover somebody like a Chase Young and a guy like a Micah Parsons. Can you get him up to speed enough? Because that is clearly how they're – there's two ways that you're going to attack the Philadelphia Eagle defense. You're going to run the ball at them, and you're going to screen them to death with tight ends. Let's see if they can cover. I don't believe they can. And that means what? You're going to have to bring your backers or put your backers back more. And that creates space inside the middle of the field against some of the elite quarterbacks. You got holes out there that you got to figure out. And see, as much as the Eagles don't believe in the linebacker position, okay, well then who's covering your tight ends? You don't have a guy on your football team right now that can cover tight ends. You didn't have one last year. I mean, TJ Edwards struggled covering tight ends. He struggled. Okay? Sidney Brown will shut down tight ends. They're going to attack Sidney Brown for his lack of knowledge of the NFL. Dude, you think a guy that played at Illinois is going to walk in and play in the NFC East and shut down Travis Kelce? You're high. You're high. You're not. That's not happening. TJ Edwards and Kaiser White were not as good towards the end of the year. You're out of your tree if you think that. Okay? Okay, Fly. Thanks. Excuse me, Fly. Okay? Okay? These new guys won't be good at least 2 years. I don't know about that. I wouldn't say 2 years. I wouldn't go 2 years. God, dude, your high draft choices like that, they better be better now. Dude, the 13th pick and the 9th pick, you ain't getting 3 years. You got to be good today. Fletcher was good immediately. You saw who he was. You can't just, hey, and for the record, as much as you guys didn't like Kaiser White, he may be one of the toughest people that you may have to replace. You ain't got a player on your football team right now that has the skill set of Kaiser White. You think Kaiser White was just like another dude. He wasn't. You haven't replaced him yet. And it's May 18th, and you haven't replaced him yet. When are you going to replace him? Draft's gone. Free agency's gone. You got another chance June 1 maybe. Who have you replaced? Seriously, who have you replaced Kaiser White with? That guy you got from Chicago? Kaiser White's better than that guy from Chicago. He just got a $5.5 million raise. Dean is here. Mr. Schwimp is going to cover tight ends and backs out of the backfield. I don't believe that either. You better not put him on linebackers, or you better not put him on tight ends. He'll get destroyed. Just in size alone. Dude, so how many people actually believe that Nakobe Dean could actually cover a guy? How big, hey, Tone, how big is Dallas Goedert? How big is Dallas Goedert? What's his size? How big is that guy? Pretty much he's a prototype of what you see in the NFL today. Okay, he's kind of like the prototype tight end today. He's 6'5", 266. 6'5", 266. So he's basically 270 pounds. And he's 6'5". And you think a guy who's 6 feet, 205 is going to cover that guy coming out of the backfield. That guy's going to need a Tokyo phone book just to look him in the eye. You better get 2 Tokyo phone books. You might have to get a Hong Kong exchange to look that guy in the eye. 6'2". Yeah, okay. That guy's not 6'2". Okay? When he was on the field, I could have swore he was somebody's little brother, like was there for the punt, pass, and kick contest. You know that punt, pass, and kick contest that Andy Reid was in? I could have swore that. When I saw Kaiser White, I was like, is that one of the little kids out there that's in the punt, pass, and kick contest? He's got an Eagle jersey on. Where's he from? Where's that kid from, man? Is he from Pennsauken, up New Jersey way? The guy who's in the Nakobe Dean outfit. Who's that? The guy's in the punt, pass, and kick contest. Dean is 230. Doubtful. Yeah, he looks more. Dude, 5'11" is more right to me. Hey, Yale, right? When you see Nakobe on the field, you're like, holy cow, man! Look at this guy. He's from one of the Catholic schools in the city of Philly, isn't he? Look at that guy, man. Look at, was he 13 years old? I like Dean. I like Dean too. He's just not big enough to cover Dallas Goedert. 6 feet 230 versus 6'5", 270. You lose. Big guys beat little guys up in the NFL. One more time. Big guys beat little guys up. Yeah. Sills, what roster moves would you make right now, June 1st, to improve the team? I'd get more depth, and I would sign as many linebackers as I possibly can, because you know why? It could improve also your special teams. Okay? It could improve your special teams because you need to improve that portion of your team. You haven't even addressed it. The Eagles haven't even addressed that part. Man, here, Eagles spend no money on running backs, linebackers, safeties, and special teams. Damn. It's amazing they win like that. They spend no money on special teams. It's by far one of the worst units in the entire NFL. And it had an impact on the Super Bowl, of course, too. They have a kicker. Okay, that does cover some of it. Because you get this. So normally kicks it out of the end zone. You really don't have to worry about kickoff coverage. So you're right. He covers the entire inequity of the team by just kicking it out of the end zone. They probably tell him that. It's probably why he's really highly paid like that. Because you can have shitty players on that team because they really don't have to cover if you're kicking it out of the end zone. So your kicking game, at least on that aspect, it's pretty smart, actually. You can have so many lesser players if your kicker can kick it out of the back of the end zone. Okay? And he's good in field goals. That's why he makes the money he makes. Absolutely. Okay? Need a new punter? That's why that side of the special team sucks, because that kicker covers a lot of shit on that kickoff and field goal team, an extra point team, because he's so good. You don't really have to have a good unit. Your kicker really he outkicks the coverage, as they say. And the problems that you have in that, the depth, I mean, for a team that was really deep last year, your special teams had no impact. I had zero impact. I mean, when's the last time the Eagles had a punt return for a touchdown? Can you guys remember that? Do you guys remember the Eagles having a good punt return? When's the last time they had a good punt return, dude? I'm going to get to a little bit of how I see the divisions. I'm going to start in the AFC here in a second. When's the last time you guys had a punt return? Sproles? Jackson? Miracle? Brian Mitchell? Holy shit, we're going into the archives. Jalen Reagor? When's the last time the Eagles had a kickoff return for a touchdown? 16? Pretty productive. The 59ers, great chance of getting the 59ers. You should say the 69ers. Brian Westbrook? Visikahema? Okay. All right, let me get over to this here. We're hoping to still catch up with our friend Bruce Arians at 5:30. Got bad weather down there. His internet's out, so we'll see what happens. All right. Let's start in the AFC here. Clearly the better conference. Is it better coaching? Or do the quarterbacks cover the coaching? Like, who's the top coach in the AFC right now? Andy Reid? Okay. Who's second? Sean Payton? The guy in Buffalo? McDermott? Who's the second best coach in the AFC right now? McDermott? Mike Tomlin? So, Reid, Tomlin, McDermott. AFC West. Peyton. You think Zach Taylor's one? Interesting. A lot of success the last 2 years. Mike Vrabel? Let's take a look at the NFC here, just for craps and giggles here. Harbaugh? Absolutely. Love John Harbaugh. Love John Harbaugh. Who are your top coaches in the NFC? McVay? If you had to pick a coach, Kyle Shanahan? Brian Dable? Wow, it's slim pickings there, too. In the South, Dennis Allen? Frank? Nick Sirianni? Todd Bowles? Okay. I don't know, man. Clearly a quarterback league. So let's start in the AFC here. Seattle, Pete Carroll. Let's go AFC East. And I'm going to go from 4 up on how I see this division and who wins it. My predictions here on May 18th. I think the Dolphins are going to finish 4th. Here's why. I don't believe the quarterback is going to make it through the season. I just don't believe it. And I think the Miami Dolphins hitching their wagon to Tua, and I think he can play. I think he can play. But he can't play with consistency. So to me, I got the Dolphins in last place in the AFC East. I got the Patriots 3rd. You know what really sucks about this dynamic here too? Man, I'll tell you what, I can't remember the last time Bill Belichick has said one kind word about Mac Jones. You know, it's one thing to kick the shit out of Tom Brady and talk shit to Brady. Brady could take it, and, you're really not going to say anything that's going to ruffle Brady's feathers. But here's a guy that you have to have confidence, build confidence for. Is it me? But do you think Bill Belichick just shits all over every kid that he assumes that he's going to have the Tom Brady gene, and he thinks he can treat everybody the same way like every other guy? You can't treat a guy, Mac Jones, like shit every day and just expect him to go out there and perform for you when this guy here needs confidence. He's constantly destroying his confidence. I think Mac Jones, if I were him and his agent, you should get the hell out of New England because he's a terrible coach for you. He's not a good fit. And everyone assumes because Mac Jones was coached by Nick Saban that, Nick Saban is not a great coach when it comes to creating confidence in players. Look at the confidence. Hey, don't you guys agree to this? Look at the confidence he took away from Jalen Hurts. Everyone wants to sit here and tell me how great of a coach Nick Saban is in creating great players. The number one thing that he took away from one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL, and I don't know how this is not a stain on this guy and how he develops or doesn't develop quarterbacks. He took the confidence level away from Jalen Hurts even. He took the confidence level from Hurts. He attempted to take confidence away from a guy you couldn't take the confidence away from. See, but he didn't know what was in Hurts. Now he's telling you he did, which is a freaking lie. He didn't want to coach him. That's why he quit on him. Nick Saban quit on him because he could. Because you know why? He's got 10 Jalen Hurts behind him. He's got a bunch of 5-star quarterbacks. He's not going to sit there and waste his time and worry about the intangible you might have. Get this, Nick Saban never saw the intangible that Jalen Hurts had. He never saw it. He took his confidence from him. And look, if you could attempt to take the confidence away from Jalen Hurts, look at what he's doing to Mac Jones. He's destroying this guy. This is the same guy who waved the white flag on Hurts. And the perception that Hurts was not an elite quarterback was because of him. No one else. So, and Mac performed well when he was there, so we didn't have to take the confidence. Back-to-back championship games, then dumped him. True. Took his confidence from him. The only difference was Hurts wasn't going to have it. And just like Hurts getting his degree the other day at Oklahoma, what did he do? He finished up at Bama, started something, finished it. Went to OU, took classes. You know what you got to love about that kid? When we were talking to Merrill Reese the other day, do you know what you got to love about it? Every single thing that he has started, he has finished. Every task. Everything. Why is that important? Well, you believe him. You believe here. When somebody says he talks about his teammates and he loves his teammates, and he really likes where he is and he's doing, you believe him. He's genuine. Aaron Rodgers tells me that. I don't buy a word he says. Okay? He finishes everything he starts, no matter how small it may be. The degree thing kind of got broached over, you know? But to me, I thought it was a big deal. Because if that guy will start a little project and finish it, the big projects are also front and center, and nothing goes unfinished. There is no unfinished business with that guy. I'll tell you something about Jalen Hurts. I may not like the dual threat style, but you love the guy. And it's easy to root for the guy. Do you know this? I'll tell you, here are the guys that quarterbacks in the NFL you want to root for. You want to root for Joe Burrow because he got thrown out of Ohio State. You root for Mahomes. Let me see. I'm Switzerland on Herbert. I know the kid, so I kind of, but it's no big deal if he loses or wins. I don't care. Russell Wilson, I think he's full of shit. And you root for Jalen. I root for Dak. I think Dak's a good dude. I think that, hey, dude, the only way Jalen, can I tell you something, guys? You missed the point. You missed the point on Jalen versus Dak. You want Dak Prescott to be at his best. You want Dak Prescott to be a great player. You want the Cowboys to be a great team. You want the 49ers to be a great team. You want everything to be at the ultimate pinnacle. When Hurts plays them, you know why? It magnifies your resume and your legacy. Name me one player Jordan played in the NBA Finals. Name me one player. Okay? Okay. So it looks like Bruce may be out. It's okay. We'll get him tomorrow. Name me one player that Jordan played against that guarded him in the finals. See, John Stockton. Okay. Well, Stockton didn't really guard him. The glove. Okay. Who else? Stockton didn't guard him. Stockton didn't guard Jordan. Peyton. Drexler, did he? I don't think Drexler covered him. Joe Dumars, for sure. Peyton and Dumars in those 6 title runs. My point is is that when Joe Montana plays against John Elway and Dan Marino and beats him versus beating stiffs, your legacy's enhanced. Eli Manning's going to the Hall of Fame because he beat the GOAT twice. Okay? You want Dak to be, and the Cowboys to be great when you beat them. You don't want them to suck. You want to break people's hearts. I like playing against the best. I want to play against the best. I don't like playing tomato cans. I don't want to play Spider Ricos. I don't. I've never wanted to do that. I've never been a fan of beating Spider Rico. I want to beat the best dudes you can. All right, so I got the Patriots 3. Jody's going to love this one. I got the Jets at 2 and a wild card team. And for the first time in 12 years, the Jets make the postseason and end their miserable streak. I don't know how long this thing's going to last, but I think the Jets, I don't know if they're Super Bowl contenders, but I do know that the Jets, I think they got a pretty good roster. And I think the Jets are going to go a long way. Dude, if they don't make the play, hey, let me say this to you. If the New York Jets and guys like Jody and everyone else, and that team don't make the postseason, Aaron Rodgers' legacy will be destroyed. It will be destroyed. You will see people destroy him if he doesn't take that team to a playoff at least. For the amount of money they're paying him, for the equity the Jets surrendered to get him, if that guy doesn't deliver a playoff appearance, he will be crucified. Crucified. I'd say of all the quarterbacks in the NFL this year, I would say that Aaron Rodgers probably has the most pressure on him versus any other guy in the league. Because he's got, get this, they're not even asking him in New York to win a Super Bowl. They're asking him to get to the playoffs. That's all they want. They want him to become the second famous Jet instead of Fireman Ed. Because of right now, it's Namath and Fireman Ed. Those are the two most famous Jets. Fireman Ed and Namath. The rest of them, Altoon, great. Joe Klecko, wonderful. Gastineau, hey, wonderful. It's all good. You know, I'm right there with you, man. Go get him, man. Mo Lewis, I'm right. Go get him, man. Fireman Head. It's appropriate, too. The second most famous Jet is a guy that hits himself in the head. All right, so I got Dolphins, Patriots, 3, Jets, 2, and the winner is the Bills. I believe they're a division winner. You notice I'm not putting win totals here. I think they got a long window, man. I do think they have to do things a little bit better with their quarterback. They got to protect him better. And he's got to, hey, Josh Allen's got to be smarter this year. He's got to be smarter. He's got to see the game the way Jalen does. Dude, slow that game down. Relax. This is a message for guys like Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. It's okay to punt. It's okay to punt. It's part of football. Punting. It's okay to punt. Relax. Smoke a joint. Oh, that's Aaron. Sorry, wrong team. Relax. AFC North. I got the Steelers 4th. I actually think this is going to be a pretty good division. I think this is going to be the first losing season of Mike Tomlin's career. I know a lot of people think that the Steelers are going to make a rebound. Who's their dynamite players? The Kid Pickens, Najee Harris, Kenny Pickett. I'm sorry. I mean, they did work in the O-line. They got Joey Porter. Okay, I mean, sure. Sounds good. Good enough? See, the standard in Pittsburgh is fallen so far. Dude, they used to go for Lombardi trophies. Now they're going not to suck. I don't know. Since when did it be fashionable? Hey, Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season. Have you seen his postseason the last decade? He's underwater. I mean, since when did the standard in Pittsburgh fall to the point where you're this now? Well, you know, not having a losing season is like, I don't know. I get the Browns at 3. I think the Browns are going to fight for a playoff spot. You know, if we just got through saying Aaron Rodgers has a lot of pressure on him, how do you not think Deshaun Watson? Dude, you know what they're going to scream in the first 4 games of the year? They're going to call him rapist. They're going to call him misogynist. They're going to call him everything they possibly can. But the number one thing that Brown fans want to see is that they call him winner. And he's winning games. That shit will go away. You start losing and you continue to lose, you're going to be hammered and hammered and hammered and hammered because of your character. And they're going to take that, and maybe for some, rightfully so, and they're going to hammer you with it. Remember something. You brought this on yourself. You got the money. Now you have the opportunity. You got to go and win some ball games here now, kid. And I think he will. I think he will. I want to see this. He's going to be, in my opinion, I think he's going to be one of the most intriguing guys to watch this coming season. In the AFC North, I've got the Ravens as a wild card team, and I got them finishing second. I think Lamar Jackson's going to be on a pilgrimage to show everybody who he is, what he is. And here's something now with Lamar. Dude, just like with Jalen, it's not about putting your name on the test like Tone says. You got to win the championships now. Got the money, got the prestige, you got a resume. You're revered as one of the best players in the NFL. You're like unanimous MVP. You're 25 years old. I mean, kid, you got everything in front of you. You got a great organization. You got a great coach. You got everything set up for you. A little bit light maybe in the defensive side, but the Ravens right now, again, they've kind of rebounded. I thought they wobbled a little bit as an organization on how they've handled this bullshit, plus allowing the defense to deteriorate a little bit. Hurts' floor is higher than Lamar's. He hasn't done more. They're the same age. How would you say that? His ceiling's higher? He's done more. And again, you want to throw the team accomplishment at me. You take the team accomplishment away from Jalen Hurts. He's not done anything. This guy's an all-pro, a 2-time Pro Bowler, an MVP, a player of the year, an offensive player of the year. I mean, there's no comparison yet. Jalen's an alternate in his first year. He is a Pro Bowler his second year. This guy's an all-pro starter. Okay? You're taking Hurts over Lamar, even though Lamar's done it more. Probably because, well, okay. Okay. Resume-wise, Jalen's done it one time. Well, that's what, hey, and that's why I say, Sharon, Jalen Hurts was not the all-pro quarterback last year. He was second team. He was not the all-pro quarterback. The all-pro quarterback's in Kansas City. That's not true. This guy was first team all-pro, Lamar, at 23. Not true. Jalen Hurts doesn't have a first-team All-Pro. The All-Pro was one dude at the position. That's first team. It's not like the NBA. I got the Bengals, number 1, and winning the division. So I got Steelers, Browns, Ravens. That's a damn good-looking division, too. That's a damn good-looking division. Steelers, Browns, Ravens, Bengals. Dude, that's a good-looking division. I think the Bengals are the team to beat in the AFC this year, too, quite frankly. Man, that's a good-looking division. AFC South now. I got the Colts in 4th. Shane Steichen and Anthony Richardson. John goes Lamar, less playoff success. Yeah, in a tougher conference, you mean, too, right? I mean, it's one thing to have to take on. Don't you agree, John? So when Lamar has to go into a postseason and play Mahomes and Burrow in consecutive weekends, and your guy has to play Daniel Jones and Brock Purdy, a little different. You agree? Or you have to have a playoff run where you go through Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and you're going through that. Now Aaron Rodgers, a little different than going through Brock Purdy, Kirk Cousins, Cooper Rush, or Dak, whomever. I mean, that's a little different run to get to the AFC champ. It's harder to, I say it's harder to win the AFC championship right now than it is to win the Super Bowl. Lamar postseason record 1-3, Jalen 1-2. It's a team accomplishment, my friend. Great. Jalen's had a better team. What's your point? I think it's harder. I think it's harder to win the AFC than to win a Super Bowl. So your teams in the AFC, if you had Cincinnati versus Kansas City versus Buffalo versus the Ravens versus Kansas City. And in the NFC, you have the Eagles versus the 49ers, and then the Cowboys, and then who? The Vikings? The Seahawks? Who else? Road ain't that difficult, man. We'll get to that here in a minute. The Lions? Okay. Seriously, man, if you're in the AFC, it's tougher to win the AFC right now than to win the Super Bowl. What do you think was a tougher game for? Hang on here. What do you think was a tougher game for Kansas City? Beating Joe Burrow and the Bengals, or beating the Eagles? Shit, you even were spotted 17. You're not spotting Joe Burrow 17. Wait a minute. You think if you're spotting Joe Burrow 17, you're losing? You actually think the Bengals and Burrow would have lost? Burrow was also a quarter away, maybe 10 minutes away from beating the Rams. Since when do we praise quitters? We're praising quitters now? It's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about a guy who's what he's done. Bro, the Eagles would kill Cincinnati? Really? You got beat by a lesser team, Jameson, in Kansas City. You're going to take on a team who, in your right mind, Jameson, on that team last year was covering T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon. Who on that team would cover? Mahomes beat you with Juju Smith-Schuster. Who are you kidding? You think Jonathan Gannon's beating Joe Burrow? You're kidding, right? With that phenomenal pass rush in the Super Bowl? You're not going to spot Joe Burrow 17. The refs. Always a good go-to, isn't it? But Mahomes beat everybody. Well, except Buffalo and Cincinnati last year. Wait, they got him in the AFC, but Burrow beat Cincinnati last year. So did Allen. Kansas City's 2-0 last 2 years against the Eagles. How you doing? Sorry, Sills, I disagree on both Bills and Bengals. Both take a step back. Okay, fair enough. Why would you think the Bengals take a step back? What if they lost? And they added Orlando Brown, did they not? Did you see what Orlando Brown said today about Joe Burrow? You're going to do a lot of great things with a guy like that. Hoss, you just came from Kansas City. What are you talking about? I was like, what is that? What in the world was that? How about Orlando Brown taking shade at Patrick Mahomes? I was like, whoa. Eagles D-line would have field day on Cincinnati's O-line. I know. Because Jonathan Gannon, that great innovator of a defensive coordinator, would have just schemed up all those guys and would have beat Cincinnati because he has a great record against elite quarterbacks. Yeah. Couldn't beat Andy Dalton. Hey, you couldn't beat Andy Dalton, but you're going to beat Joe Burrow. Solid. And by the way, Andy, did the Saints have a winning record last year? I missed it. Did Washington have a winning record? He didn't trigger nothing. Okay. Hey, Trevor, how you doing, bro? Brown knows Burrow's. Okay. All right. I think they're losing Mixon, too. I think they're going to try to move off Mixon anyway because of some of his off-the-field issues they got. Okay, I do. All right. I got Colts 4th. We're going over the divisions, Trev. I got Colts 4th, Titans 3. Titans. If I'm Mike Vrabel, man, I pulled a ripcord on that thing, get the hell out of Dodge as quick as I can, or I get a quarterback. And I do not want one-play Trey as my – dude, if the Tennessee Titans and Rand Carthon, the general manager of the Titans, trades for Trey Lance, if I was Mike Vrabel, I would beg to be fired. Like a scene out of like draft day. Hey, do me a favor. Fire me. I am not coaching a team with no future. Fire me. Trey Lance is a stiff. Not happening. Hey, Niner guys, I know many of you are in here. I hate to do this to you, man. Jim Drunkenmiller. Gino Carmazzi. Or Giovanni Carmazzi. What was that guy's name, too? Jim Drunkenmiller. That's when I see Trey Lance, I see Jim Drunkenmiller. I don't know why. Elvis Gerback, Tim Rattay, the long line of stiff QBs that they've had in the building. All right, that's enough of that. Trevor, throwing my boy in there. Shit, at least Ken was a 12th round draft choice and not the third player taken in the draft because he could run high hurdles in a 4x100. Hey, did you see Trey Lance versus all them white guys? I mean, versus Wolverine University? Did you see that guy? Holy cow. Trey threw for 7 touchdowns against Wolverine University. Then they went over against Eagle Creek the next week. Unbelievable. Homecoming. They had a gigantic bonfire out there, man. They were cooking and roasting pigs. What a great event that thing was, man. Unbelievable. Tremendous. Who does North Dakota State play? Well, not a lot of like NFL talent, but that's a place where they get quarterbacks like the Eagles and the 49ers. Who would have thought the two best teams in the NFL were snookered by a football program that produces stiffs? Yeah, right. Hey, here's a lesson. Hey, Tone, This is something here for the folks at the NovaCare Center. I don't care what the kid looks like. Don't ever draft anybody from North Dakota State, and don't ever draft a wide receiver from TCU. Stay away from that. You're good. Just stay away from those two things, and we're good. No wide receiver from TCU, and no quarterbacks from North Dakota State. If you stay out of that room, you're good. Yeah, that's like taking a coach from John. Oh, yeah, okay. Why? Because Don Shula coached there? All right. Yeah. Or wait a minute. I got a better one for you. So wait, Sil's saying don't ever hire a coach from Amherst College. Well, didn't Belichick go there? Yeah. Yeah. Lamar Jackson's not even in my top 5 quarterbacks. Name me one thing Jalen Hurts personally on his personal resume Philadelphia has done over Lamar Jackson. They're the same age. Name me one thing. One thing. One thing. Lamar led the NFL in touchdown passes. A Super Bowl. Trent Dilfer got to one. Went to the Super Bowl. I said individual achievement. Name me one thing he's done. Individual achievement. With the two guys' resumes. QBR. How about unanimous MVP leading the NFL in touchdown passes? All pro. That means he beat Mahomes out. That means he beat Mahomes out. And Brady. And Rodgers. Do you understand that? And Breeze. Okay? QBR. Yeah. I'm not sure we're getting Bruce Arians in here because of the thunderstorms and his internet is being out, so we may have to get him tomorrow. But I want to finish up the AFC, and I want to get into the NFC. You guys have been great. I so appreciate you guys being here. Please hit the like button. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
Weather forecasting is a team game.
We rely on each other every day, updating the models and passing along new critical information.
We have a team of 5 experienced meteorologists and a specialized weather producer, Paul. Say hi, Paul.
Sometimes what I see in the model, Cecily could see something different.
That's when we come together as a team to make our most accurate prediction.
And all of this backed by more than 100 AccuWeather scientists. It's a team game.
And we have the best team in town.
When it comes to the fight against insurance companies, large corporations, and the healthcare industry, injured victims are always the underdog. But that doesn't worry us. At Messa & Associates, we're an injury law firm from Philadelphia, and we come to fight. Our clients know that they've got representation with a chip on its shoulder, and it's the same chip that makes Philly the toughest city in the country. Call 215-568-3500 or visit us online at messalaw.com. Messa & Associates, the toughest injury firm in Philadelphia.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wild days.
Score and save in southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer three major services, the first one being basement waterproofing, the second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs, and then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Sales National Football Show. Please hit the like button. Appreciate y'all coming aboard as you always do. We may or we may not get Bruce this day, okay, because they're having weather issues down in Tampa. So we'll keep you updated on that either today or tomorrow. So we'll give you the skinny on that. Tone's working on it, so hopefully we're able to get whether or not he's coming on today or tomorrow, but looks like potentially tomorrow. So until then, please hit the like button. We're talking and getting a good sense of where teams are right now as they're getting ready for the July training camp. I'll reset AFC East, North, South. I still got the West to do, and we're going to get to the NFC here in a second. But I do want to throw this at you. So this morning, Marcus Hayes was talking to Birds 365 guys and talking about culture, the Philadelphia Eagles. You guys are not under the pretense that you really think that they cleared it with Darius Slay, that Matt Patricia was going to be hired as a defensive coach by the Eagles. Do you think this is the Sixers? Only the Sixers do that shit. Hey, James, what'd you think of Doc? Yeah, because you know what James Harden's done his entire career. He's an excuse machine for his failures. Coach, team, even though everybody's giving him max deals. James Harden had his own time that he wanted to do shit in Houston. The owner did everything. It was on James Harden time. He ate his ass out of the Houston Rockets and went to Brooklyn, picked up his bat and ball and moaned and cried, went there, didn't like that situation. Then he went to Embiid, and he went to that organization. James Harden is a cesspool of failure excuses in his career. Someone else instead of accountability. It's probably why he doesn't win, because he doesn't take self-criticism well. Seals Lamar's best season throwing was 3,100 yards. Koshu, isn't that the year he won the unanimous MVP award? Act like those are really good numbers. Didn't he not lead the Hey, so you're telling me he had 3,100 yards that year, and he led the NFL in touchdown passes with 33 of them? And the team went 15 and what? 2? Or was it 14-2? I forget. I'm just, dude, I'll give it stats. He was the unanimous most valuable player that year. Unanimous. Nobody in the NFL media or nobody on the planet thought he didn't have a better year than Mahomes or any of those other guys. He was a unanimous MVP. Dan, so what's your point? Lamar's more accomplished as a quarterback than Jalen Hurts is. That's my point. Dan, you hate Lamar. I don't hate Lamar. You guys are all asking the wrong questions. You don't listen very well. You just don't. No one's asked the most important question. Oh, no one's asked the most important question. Yet has only one playoff game. Okay, Cody. So you're under the pretense then that you think Nick Foles is a better postseason player than Dan Marino, and he's a better quarterback than Dan Marino because he's won a Super Bowl. Is that correct? He thinks that Nick Foles is a better quarterback than Dan Marino. Solid take. Solid take. Well, Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl and Dan Marino didn't. Okay. Yeah. No, you are saying that. The only thing Lamar has, dude, quite frankly, honestly, it's a dumb debate. Because Jalen has one season. That's it. Let's give him a chance. Let's give him a chance. Give him a chance to build his resume. Maybe he has a unanimous MVP year. Hey, his year was just as good as Carson Wentz's season. Difference was Wentz finished up winning a Super Bowl and helped the team win a Super Bowl. So let's wait and see how it plays out. Oh, okay. Yeah, right. No, that's okay. No. Yeah, it's dumb. Jalen is better. Okay, we'll see. All right. And wait a minute. So, get this. Hey, that Cooper Rush game, man. Shit, when Lamar has to go through Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and Joe Burrow and going through Cooper Rush and, what is it? Miles Davis or Davis Mills? I forget. Which is it? I don't know. And the Kenny Pickett and the Andy Dalton run, pretty tough run there. Keep the faith, guys. Biggest competition in the NFC East is Dak and Daniel Jones. Go get them. Hey, just to reset, AFC East, Dolphins 4, Patriots 3, Jets 2, Bills 1, Bills winner. Jets do make the postseason. I got the Steelers 4th, the Browns 3rd, the Ravens making the playoffs, Bengals winning the division. AFC South, I got the Colts 4th, I got the Titans 3rd, I got the Texans 2. Yeah, I think the Texans pick it up. I got the Jags 1. Who has more games played the last 2 years? AFC West. The Raiders 4th. Broncos 3rd. I don't know. I can't wait to see this. I don't know. Hey, Colin, I think the Texans might be nice this year too, dude. Jamison, I'm not answering dumbass questions and debating them. Not. I didn't ignore it. Yeah, wait. No, I ignore stupid-ass questions. Yes, you're right. I do. Yeah. Yeah. You're right, Jamison. I do. I ignore dumb questions. I'm not getting in a debate with people who just will make chicken shit and make it look like chicken soup. I love you too, Jamison. It's all good, dude. Isn't it great, though, Jamison? The one thing that we can all say, hey, right, Tone? The coolest thing about sports? We have a wonderful debate. Our favorite teams, our favorite players, who we think is this, who we think is that. End of the day, nobody's butthurt at the end because you know why? We're not like the people who talk politics, who assassinate your character. This is about sports. Don't get butthurt over sports. It's a great passion that we all can agree or disagree on. End of the day, we're all sports fans. My job and my number one job here is to sell sports. Any way, form, or fashion is to sell sports. And I love it. And I love our debates. Okay? I want you to know where I come from. I come from selling sports because I have a passion for it. We all do. Republicans, Democrats can sit in a room and we can talk about it. I can't get in a room with a person who's a Democrat and Republican and talk politics with them. You know why? Because I do not see their ideology. I just don't. And nor do I want to debate that, because you know why? I don't care that much about you when we're talking about those things. I have my own way of seeing shit. So do you guys. Right? Sills could dish it out, but he can't take it. Yeah, that's right. That's why I've been doing this for 100 years. Hey, you see that tone? Keon goes like this. Sills could dish it out, but he can't take it. I've been dishing it out and taking it for 34 years. What are you talking about? Ben's right. F the politics. Let's go. Hey, got the Broncos started. What's the Sean Payton and Mike McCarthy? Why hey. Hey, Tony, Mike McCarthy and Sean Payton, who's a better coach? I don't know. Same win-loss percentage almost. Postseason records kind of the same. Yet Sean Payton is making $20 million a year in Denver. Whew. $20 million a year. For what? Couldn't do shit without Drew Brees. What makes you think that guy's a good coach? I want to see him do it with a guy who was a complete train wreck last year. Sean Payton is a slightly better coach than Mike McCarthy? Okay. Well, that's kind of like a low shelf, isn't it? I don't know. I got the Chargers making the playoffs and in the 2-hole. Here's why, and I know this, you'd go, Sills, you're taking the Chargers over the Broncos. It pains me to do this. I think it's really close. But, dude, they got so much talent with the Chargers. I think a shitty organization and a shitty coaching staff, and I think there's just too many good players on that team not to get to – I'm just saying, I think a really good coach could take that team and win a Super Bowl. That's a Super Bowl team. Dude, Derwin James on one – oh, my God, he's one of my favorite football players on the planet. I love Derwin James, and he's a Knoll. Dude, that guy's the closest thing I've seen to Ed Reed. He can flat out play. He's a hitter. That guy's one of my favorite football players in the league. He's like Cam Chancellor a little bit. Dude, they are great. They're packed. They're loaded. I just think they got a really bad – I mean, dude, if the Eagles ran that organization, they'd have 2 Super Bowls already. They'd have 2 Super Bowls. There's so much talent. Tom Telesco's done a really nice job maneuvering and going around the family, the Spanoses. The Spanoses are a shithole family, man. They're terrible. I mean, do you understand that the Spanos family is the only family in the NFL? And by the way, not personally, I kind of know them a little bit, but I'm talking running the team. This is about the business side of it and football side of it. But do you know they're the only team in the NFL that doesn't own their own stadium? They're the only team in the league that doesn't own their own building and get the benefits from owning a building. The Jets share with MetLife. I mean, the Jets are business partners with the Giants at MetLife. The Chargers are the only organization. They pay $1 in rent. This is a true story. The Chargers pay $1 in rent to stay in Kroenke. Kroenke's the guy that stroked the check for that SoFi Stadium. He's the one. And I guess the concessions half the concessions go to the Rams during a Charger game. Jesus, criminy. That's ridiculous, man. I got Kansas City, but I got the Chargers winning a playoff seat, and I got Kansas City winning the division. So I got Bills winning the division, Bengals winning their division, Jags winning their division, Kansas City winning theirs. The wild card teams are Ravens, Jets, and Chargers. Now we get over to the NFC. Do you guys know that CBS thinks that the Dallas Cowboys are going to win the NFC East this year? Big Sills didn't say that. Facts, Ben? Facts? What are you talking about, facts? Big Sills' opinions, dog. What's some facts? Do you guys know that CBS has the Dallas Cowboys winning the NFC East and has you guys only winning 10 games? Not me. I'm not saying that. I'm not. They think you're only. They think the Cowboys are their team to beat in the NFC East this year, not you. I don't know where are you going with that. Let's just before we look at the NFC here. CBS thinks that the Cowboys are the team with the they think it's 49ers, Cowboys, and Eagles this year. And I'm like, where in the world do you think, who has the better quarterback of those three teams? The guy in Philly. Who's the better coach of those three? I don't know. I hate all three of them. Who's got the better defense? Niners. Who's got the better roster? Eagles? Niners? Where do the Cowboys have an edge? Where do they see? I think they put that list together so they could get clicks because Cowboy fans and Eagle fans get pissed off. See, it's a great dynamic. You know the greatest thing that you have going in the debate between the Cowboys and Eagles? You'll always get a reaction. You know why? Cowboy fans are delusional. Eagle fans are irrational. Hey, Tone, am I right? This is what the media does to Eagle and Cowboy fans. The Cowboy fans are delusional. Every year they're delusional. They're going to win a Super Bowl. They're going to win 100 games, and no one's going to beat them. And they get knocked out and bounce in the first round. Eagle fans are rational. We're going to go undefeated. No one's touching us. We got the best quarterback to ever play in this league. I don't give a shit what you say about Tom Brady. My boy's the best. Okay? I don't give a shit what you say. Our stadium's the best. Our food's the best. Our cheerleaders are the best. All that shit. We got it all here. Nobody touches us. Nothing. And you can't. And it's like being at my dinner table with my family. You don't have an argument with Italians at a dinner table because the only guy that wins is the guy who screams the loudest. The guy asked me about the facts, and you're like this. What facts? Who gives a shit about the facts? When you're in a conversation with a Philadelphia Eagle fan, who gives a shit about the facts? Who's the loudest? He wins. Sills, where are you coming off with this Lamar thing? He was unanimous. I don't give a shit what you got. Quit on his team. My guy was right there to the end. He's a harder worker. He represents. I know, but, he's unanimous. Beat all Pro Bowl, all pro, I don't care. Delusional Cowboy fans, irrational Eagle fans. And what you do is you put that on a piece of paper and the media uses it against both of you. And so, everyone's going like this now. 10 wins, Eagles. Hey, CBS. You know what that stands for? The crap broadcasting system. You'll always be, I'll never watch a CBS game again. I'm going to stream the shit. I'll never support CBS again. Joseph. Joseph goes, Sills, you're catching on. This conversation is occurring in some corner in South Philly. Sills is protecting Lamar for Tone. Dude, you must not understand who Tone is. He don't give a shit about anything but outside the Philly area code. He don't care about that. He's another one of those guys. His dad, his dad. These guys are like Xander's family. Dude, you guys have heritage fans. Your dad, your cousin's dad, your sister. Gives a shit about the Pistons. The Pistons. That's why you never hear this debate. When I throw something out about Philadelphia, you know what you never hear? Yeah, well, Sills, that team over in Las Vegas, they lose like that too, like the Eagles. You never hear that because nobody cares. You know, people are going, I don't give a shit about the Raiders, the Rams. I don't care about any of that. Who cares? Well, you know, the Commanders, Sills, what I just tell you, only time I care about the Washington Commanders is when we play them twice. Other than that, I could care if that place is on fire. Right? Niner fans obsessed. Yeah, well, see, but there lies the difference between Niner fans and Eagle fans. Right there. Eagle fans don't give a shit about the Niner fans. They don't give a shit you got your quarterback killed. They could care less. 49er fans are going to reach across the country and go, you know, we would have beat you. You know, we would have beat you if we had our quarterback. We would have beat you. People in Philly are going like, what's that tool doing? Well, I mean, seriously, what's that tool doing? Don't worry, guy. You get your shot again. Don't worry. The heavyweight championship belt will get an opportunity to go back to you. Hey, you get another shot at the title. I'm going to give it to you. Don't worry about it. That time's coming. Week 14. And you can bring your overhyped coach and Brock Turdy into the building, and we'll all have binky night. Everything will be good. Still, did the Eagles win the Super Bowl exactly? Well, let me ask you this, Niner guy. Did you finish up your season with Christian McCaffrey as your quarterback? Yay or nay? Hey, here's how the 49ers started and ended their season. With one play Trey and McCaffrey at quarterback. Hey, wait a minute. Think about this. You go on a 12-game win streak. You start the season with one play Trey Lance, and you finish the season with Christian McCaffrey as your starting quarterback. What do you think the chances of you winning an NFC title game or getting to a Super Bowl are? Good or bad? Who was your quarterback in the final series of the season for the Niners? Well, okay, it was my running back. What? Dude. Excuse me? Yeah, it was the running back. Are you running some sort of wildcat, or are you running Barry Switzer's wishbone? Because if you're not running Barry Switzer's wishbone, having Christian McCaffrey as your starting quarterback at the end of a game in an NFC title game, I can't think you really were in that game. Oh, man. Yeah, they were running. Dude, the Eagles beat the Niners up so bad by the end of the season. Think about this. You guys were running the wishbone. Wait a minute. I didn't think about that until now. The Eagles beat you up defensively so bad. You were running Barry Switzer's wishbone at the end of the year. 3 dudes coming downhill. Oh, man, that's a way to win. That was Dan's Super Bowl since his Eagles shit the bed. And now they're my Eagles. Okay. No. It only took 3 plays to take you. Hey, Niner guy. Unfortunately, it only took 3 plays to end that game. Usually, Most teams play a 65-play game. You know, you play 3. I don't know what else you want me to say. Niner, I'm here for you, for your therapy. I'm here for your therapy, okay? See, most teams run 65 plays. You ran 3. I'm here to help. You know, if you want me to knit you a pillow or a whoopee or something, I don't know, dog. Dan, you lost the Super Bowl. Here's your birdie chicken wing. Oh, man. Seals is here for you, yes. Condolences. Here lies Brock Purdy on an assassin's bullet known as Hassan Reddick. Holy game. Yeah, we're staying here. Look, here lies Brock Purdy at the hands of an assassin's bullet known as Hassan Reddick, the defensive edge rusher. We say in Heavenly Father's name, pray for this man, for he was hit like a lightning bolt because nobody was there to protect him. He didn't have the roof on his car either. Hey, we're here for you in Heavenly Father's name. Amen. Shanahan made Brock Purdy look like David Carr. Yeah. Oh, man. Dude. Purdy Bennett. Let me get to the NFC side here now. Let's do the NFC here. Brock Purdy chicken wing night, week 14. Yeah, it's called Hassan sauce. Really spicy. Stings the nostrils. Yeah. So you got the guys in Philly coming down the links. They got to go going down the stairs. Hey, you want a turkey wing? What kind of sauce you got? Well, I got the Hassan sauce. And I got the not-so-good sauce, Kyle Shanahan sauce. How come Shanahan sauce isn't very good? Because it's plain. What about the Hassan sauce? Just take your arm off. Hey, you put this Hassan Reddick sauce on your wing, you're going to need arm surgery. Thought the Niner fans were tough. Cosmo, how could you think 49er fans were tough when they serve cheese, brie, and caviar at games? They don't serve hot dogs. They're gourmet hot dogs. They're like some sort of like weird bun too. Like a brioche bun. It's not a bun, dog. I want a hot dog bun and a hot dog. Okay? A hot dog. Serve hot dogs at Santa Clara. They don't serve hot dogs there. They serve weenie dogs. They serve little weenie dogs. You want a hot dog? You look down, you go, that's a weenie dog. I want a hot dog. Dan, besides how the Eagles' success has been, what tells you more about Philly as the whole Eagles of today? And did you prefer the Broad Street Bully days? Gang Green Day, I like what they're doing now. I really do. I love the whole corporate organization and what they've done. I'm learning now, again, their culture and why. We talked about it. We started it. Like I said, you look at Josh Harrison, how he has not made one decision that's worth a shit. Okay? And then you look at the Eagles and how all the decisions that they've made, every one of their coaches since Andy Reid has had a successful run in Philly. Joseph goes, they got hot dogs on sour bread buns. Sour bread buns? I want my hot dog a little burned, not those little weenie dogs. You see, when you get a hot dog at the 49er games, they give you one of those little hot dogs that look like they're like this big. And they put it on a bun, and you're like, that's not a hot dog, guy. My thumb's bigger. Give me a hot dog and a beer. We don't have beer. We have wine. Nobody drinks wine at a ball game. Dude, you drink wine at two places, to get confession and funerals. It's the only place Big Sills is drinking wine. Okay? Communion and funerals. Other than that, I'm not drinking. I will not drink wine anywhere else. Vienna sausages. Let me do the NFC. All right. Hey, the 49er Wiener Night. Oh, man. That sounded terrible. Hey, guess what? Week 14 of the NFL, it's 49er Wiener Night. I want to leave that before I get flagged. 49er Wiener Night. I want a hot dog. I can't start in the East. It's too simple. So let's start out West. Okay? 49ers serve great Chinese food. By the way, they're no. No. Hey, see, John Morant, you got to edit yourself sometimes. Just remember that. See, Tone? Hey, John Morant, a little note to you. You got to edit yourself sometimes. You can't let guys like Joseph take you into the toilet and spin you like an alligator. You see what Joseph's trying to do to me? Joseph's trying to take me like the old lady down in Florida, take me into the creek and roll me and then throw me in there and then eat me up, and that's the end of me. Not going to let you do it, Joseph. Joseph just tried to take me down like an alligator, like the little dog that was walking on the side there of the lake there, and the alligator reached up and grabbed him and rolled him. No way. Not me, Joseph. I've learned a lesson after 18 firings. Sills, would you consider light beer over wine? No, dog. There's nothing light or half about Big Sills. Here we go. NFC West. How many people think I think the Cardinals are going to be the worst organization in the NFC this year. Why wouldn't I think that? Well, hey, Dan, what a leap. Wait, that is one of your biggest takes of all time. Sills just said the Cardinals are going to be the worst organization in the NFC. What a take, dude. Man, I can't believe you went all the way on that branch. Holy cow, man. That is a leap of faith. I got the Rams 3. I think they're going to come back, but I don't know if they're going to be good enough to come back all the way to make a playoff spot. I got Seahawks 2. I think they make the postseason. Okay? And I get the 49ers. I don't really care who their quarterback is. I think they win the division. Joseph says, Mr. Softy out there. I don't know what that means. Mr. Softy. Got the Niners. Cards, Rams, Seahawks make the playoffs. 49ers win the division. NFC South. I think you're going to be shocked. That's funny, Jameson. Who's the starting? Hey, Niner. Sileo's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Some truth to this. Niner. As you get to start. Hey, can you hear this now coming over the speakers at Santa Clara? And now. Your starting quarterback back for the San Francisco 49ers. From Stanford, Christian McCaffrey. What? Why is McCaffrey starting a quarterback? Well, he's like Crazy Legs Hirsch. Ace goes without any self-inflicted wounds. Can you, as of today, after June 1st, will be proclaimed the Eagles going to the Super Bowl since the NFC is not as strong? I think they're going to the NFC Championship game as of May 18th. I didn't say Super Bowl yet. I think they're going to get to the NFC title game. Talk your shit. That was corny. No, I told you. You know what's corny? Being served weenie dogs at a 49er game with a box of wine. You know, boxes of wine with the little tiny like bag in it, like it's like a colostomy bag. That's the kind of wine they serve there in Santa Clara. It's like a colostomy bag, but it's in a box, and it's Merlot. I got the Bucs, the worst organization in the NFC South. Got the Panthers third. I think they make a good turn. I think they turn in the right direction here. Hey, man, I think people are sleeping on Derek Carr. I think the Saints got some talent. I do. A sippy straw? Hey, wait a minute. Hey, Niner guy, you guys ever have like juice box night? You guys have juice box night? Juice box night and Ritz crackers. Wow, did you see that play? Then you go on Market Street later, right? Ritz crackers in a juice box. Oh, man. Hey, Tone, right? Tone goes, I don't want to go nowhere near this. The Lunchables. Is that the one you peel back and you got a piece of like old cheese and you got some nuts in it? Oh, that'd go right up their alley with the nuts. Oh, hey, by the way, I enjoyed living out there, man. Yeah, I did. Hey, you know where I lived, Niner? I lived in Dublin. I lived in Dublin. Yeah, that's another good. That's another good like good promotion night there at Santa Clara for 49er night. You peel back the deal, right? Okay, and you have a piece of cheese. And of course, you're at a 49er game. You got nuts. Yeah. And you wonder why. Hey, and you wonder why people. I can't put that guy on. Hey, Joseph, you wonder why? Hey, Joseph, you wonder why people go like this? No. Hey, do you know why now, Joseph, they're afraid of me? I won't say what station. Do you get this? I'm not going to say what station. Do you know that one of the news stations wanted to talk to me about the draft? Do you know what one of the hosts, he texts me and he goes, hey, are you around? I go, just text me. He goes, no, I got to call you. I don't want this on a text. I was like, okay. He goes, they said under no circumstances are you to use him. I was like, how do they even know what I'm going to say? I'm going to say they had a good draft. He goes, no, they don't want anything. They just don't want you. Because I said, I'll bring you a huge audience. He goes, that's what they said too. I was like, so you don't want a huge audience. Okay. So they had to use a certain radio station. I was like, that's so great. The NFC Central Division, North. I got the Packers, number 4. So all them cheeseheads are going to be going, well, how come we're not relevant anymore? What happened? Well, you got Jordan Love now. You went from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love. Well, Jordan Love's supposed to be as good as those other two. yeah, I know. I know they keep telling you that. But welcome to the land of Shitsville. Now, guess who you're back to being? Lynn Dickey days. You're now Lynn Dickey. The Bears. There's a part of me that thinks the Bears are trending up. You know what? I don't know about you guys. I'm starting, the more I listen and watch him train and the more I watch him work. I like Justin Fields. I like Justin Fields. I don't know if he's going to make it. I don't know if he's going to work. But it won't be because he didn't put all of his might into being a successful quarterback. Of all the quarterbacks that have come out of Ohio State, there's something about him that, I don't know. I like him. I'm rooting for him. I like him. I hope he has success. I'm with you, Joshua. That's kind of where I'm at. I really like the kid. I think the kid's working hard. Okay? I do. I think the kid's working hard. But I just don't know if he has enough talent to play at the NFL level. Hey, Joseph, one thing that you can say for sure, that kid is electric in open space. Don Mikowski, I played against that stiff. I got the Vikings making the playoffs. The Vikings are the NFL version of the 76ers. Really good regular season. Get into postseason. Am I right? The Vikings are the Sixers of the NFL. I got the Lions winning this division. Quan says, "Still stop hurting the Niner feelings." Okay, sorry. Sorry if I offended anyone. I can't even do that with a straight face. Now the NFC East, before we take the time out. By the way, CBS says you guys are winning 10 games and not winning the East. Here's what we say. I got the Giants in last place. I think that thing, I think you've gambled on Daniel Jones. Whew, man, no way. I don't, man, I could be this could be the whole worst take of all time. I just don't see it. I got Washington in the 3-hole. Okay? I got Washington in the 3-hole. And now the top two teams in the NFC East, according to Big Sills. I have at number 2. The Dallas Cowboys. Sorry, I don't see where you have one redeeming edge. Your defense is closer than I thought to Philly's. Your run game, Tony Pollard's a better back than anything you have. But Swift has closed that gap. The tight end is better. The receiving core is better. Now, I do think they have 3 guys. You have 2. But Goddard is the offsetter, plus Swift catching passes. And AJ is the best receiver in the division. The quarterback and Dak, here's where you lose me. Dak owns that team. Dak has success against the Eagles. He's 8-3. Jalen's going to have to beat Dak. So it's a push. Dude, you could say he's better. You can say all of that. The facts don't side for you on this. You're right. He's terrible everywhere. Look, he'll beat the Eagles, and then guess what? He'll lose to the Saints in Taysom Hill. I agree. I completely agree. And Jalen will beat that team. Jalen's more consistent than Dak when it comes to wins and losses. Absolutely. I agree. But when it comes to those two teams head-to-head, Dak has the advantage. Coaching, I don't know. Mike McCarthy, sure. I guess. Not by a lot. Nick's okay. I got the Eagles 1. Giants, Washington, Cowboys, Eagles. That's how I see it. I got to take a timeout. Hit the like button. Please keep it here on the National Football Show.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wild wood days.
Score and save in southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, Birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer 3 major services, the first one being basement waterproofing. The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Lunchable night. Oh, hey. So James Bradbury, I guess the guys are talking over working out there at the NovaCare Center, and James Bradbury was saying, now listen to this. Here, I'm going to tell you how I read this. Bradbury's like this. With Sean Desai, you're going to see more versatility and more ability for us to do things. Huh. Is that a shot at the greatness of Jonathan Garner? Paraphrasing, you're going to see more versatility in what we're going to do. Are you saying that Jonathan Gannon had one way of doing shit, and that's the way he went about running his defense, and he barely deviated off that? Like I said, and I'll tell you again, That's the difference between Dan Quinn, D'Amico Ryans, people like that. That's the difference between guys like that. They're going to design a defense. They're going to put a defensive system together, and they're going to put a system together that fits the best personnel that's on their team. They're not just going to plug and play. That's what Gannon did. See, Gannon, to me, he benefited so much from the players all having tremendous years. Now, some would say this, wasn't it the scheme that he put in? Now, wait a minute. Let me ask you something here. So do you actually think that that was Jonathan Gannon who put that scheme in place? Or do you think it was an organizational decision on how Howie saw his personnel on what was the best system to put in? So do you really think that Jonathan Gannon, with no experience whatsoever, came up with that system? Or do you think that was an organizational thing that Howie said, hey, we don't really have a lot of great linebackers here, so let's just keep everything underneath. Play that umbrella defense that everybody else is playing in the NFL. Remember what that famous line is that people say all the time? They say this, it's a copycat league. Aren't more teams and defensive coordinators going to that umbrella? Why? Because they haven't figured out how to deal with the quarterback salary like Howie's figured it out. And what they do is they just keep everything underneath. Here's what I think you're never going to see again. You are never going to see an 85 Bears. You're really never going to see a dominant football team like the Ravens defense. You're never going to even see anything like the Eagle defense. Like, you couldn't keep that defense together today. You couldn't pay Seth Joyner, Jerome Brown, or you couldn't pay Reggie. Shit, you couldn't pay him back then. You weren't going to pay him now. All that money has to go to, and quite frankly, am I right? The majority of look at where the money's spent now. The money spent on the offensive side. Where are you spending a lot of money on defense? $15 million is a pretty good price tag for Hassan Reddick. It's not a cheap price tag. But in the landscape of things of a $235 million or $224 million salary cap, $10 million on Fletcher, corners you're spending money because that's a premium position, but the rest of it, you're not spending big money anywhere. You're spending money on Fletcher. Brandon took a pay cut. Okay, took a pay cut. Your money's all spent at the corners for two players. The rest of it is on the O side. Your two tackles are $17 million apiece. Your center's a $14 million guy. Your tight end's a $15 million guy. One wideout's 20-some-odd million. Your quarterback's a $50 million quarterback now. Dude, all that money's on that side of the ball. Shit, you got a boatload of $2 and $3 million salaries that are sitting in your backfield on the offensive side when it comes to your running backs. They spend a ton of money on that side. They spend a ton of money in the offensive line. I thought it was interesting when he said that. He was like, we're going to see more versatility. Again, that's why Matt Patricia was brought in. You really think Nick Sirianni hired Matt Patricia? How many people here really believe that Nick Sirianni called up Matt Patricia and said, hey, I'd love to have you come join my staff? Do you really think he said that? Or do you think it was more Howie? You know what I probably think? Howie probably talked to the agent for Patricia, and then Howie went to Nick, said, give him a call. Go get me a cup of coffee. Go call Matt Patricia. Hey, man, my boss told me to call you. I know you may, hey, I talked to Slay. Everything's all good. That's his job. And as we started the show, always remember this. Always remember this, right? Nick Sirianni, right, Tone? Nick Sirianni's the third dude in the violin section. And Howie's here doing this. Look, like, he's running like the Philly Opera. He's singing, fly, eagle, fly. See, Tone's doing it too, man. We're all good here. And then he goes like this. He points to Nick. Nick, solo. Then he goes back to doing it. Nick gets to blow the horn once. Yeah. Hey, Nick gets to blow the horn. In the horn section, Nick's the only guy that gets to blow the horn. Whereas my grandfather would say, Nick's a horn blower. That's it. Okay. Hey, man, I appreciate you guys. Xander, Big Joe, thank you. Tone, keep up the great work. We apologize about Bruce Arians' power issues that they had down in Florida. Lightning strikes. So we'll see if we can get him on tomorrow. We thank you so much. 3 to 6 tomorrow. Please hit the like button, and we'll see you on the flip side.